Hey everyone, Amanda Mazey here with Country Roads Trust with Mary Tucker of WVU Rifle. Mary, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. All right, so we're going to talk about this nice Olympic silver medal in just a minute. What an amazing accomplishment. But I want to know, Mary, how does one get into rifle as a sport?
There's actually a lot of different ways that people get into it. So the most common way is through 4-H, because 4-H has like BB gun, so a lot of people do that. The way that I got into it is I went to a military academy for high school, and they had a team there, like a club team. And it's actually kind of a funny story. My mom didn't really want me to go to that high school. She wanted me to go to just the normal one, but I liked the way the classes were better. So I wanted to go there, and she made a deal. She said, all right, you can go there, but you have to play a sport. And then we went to the club night, and there's all the sports set up, and she's like, yeah, pick any sport. Not that one. Any of those, not that one.
And that's the
and
one
I was
picked.
like, that one. She's like, dang it, but now we're here, so she's fine with it.
So you just picked this up for the first time in high school.
Yeah, I started, I shot Sporter, which is like, I don't know if anybody's seen like our suits and stuff, but Sporter's like without the suits.
Yeah.
So it's just basic, regular, whatever. And I did that for like my freshman year, and then I ended up leaving that team and finding my personal coach. And I was partially like for the first couple months, I didn't have a coach, and I taught myself off YouTube how to do precision, and I kind of just was like, people are buying this, so I'm going to buy that. And then found my coach, and she was like, yeah, okay, let's do this the right way.
So kind of self-taught, just picked it up. At what point did you realize, because you've come a long way, I mean, you have so many accomplishments in such a short time. When did it kind of click with you that you're like, wow, I'm pretty good at this. Like, this might be my niche here.
Yeah, honestly, there were a couple different moments. So, like, one of my very first competitions in precision was nationals in 2017, towards the end of 2017, and I had just pretty much started in 2017. And I ended up, after the first day, I came off the line, and I was like, oh, I didn't do very good, because, like, I didn't know what a good score was. I wasn't watching. I wasn't paying attention to what other people were shooting. And my coach's husband was crying, and I was like, wow, I did horrible. Like, gosh, maybe I should never do this again. And she just, like, turned me towards the scoreboard, and I was in third. And I was like,
wow.
Oh, okay, maybe I should keep doing this.
Yeah.
And then I didn't know that it was, like, a college sport, didn't know it was an Olympic thing. I didn't even watch the 2016 games. And I was approached by a college coach at that match, and I was like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, I'm from this. And I was like, yeah, that's a state. And I was like, okay, cool. And he's like, no, the university. I was like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
And he's like, do you want to come to college and shoot? And I was like, I don't know what that means. But I actually did go there.
Yeah.
And then came here. So it was a very long thing.
So talk about the competitions and, because there's small bore, there's air rifle. Mm-hmm. So there are, competitions within the umbrella. So how does one kind of choose, like, well, I'm going to go this path, or do you try them all?
You kind of do try them all. So within shooting, there's actually 3 different ones. So there's shotgun, pistol, and rifle. We're all shooting. And usually people kind of start in one and they stay in the one, but occasionally people do try other ones. So I actually cross-train in pistol just because I think it's fun.
Yeah.
But when I was starting, I was definitely more of an air gun shooter, just because air gun's easier to have access to. I mean, you don't have to have, like, import licenses, and pellets are easier to find, and you're just shooting at 10 meters, and, it's easy. So a lot of people start in air gun, and they stay in that, usually. There's not a ton of juniors in small bore until they get to, like, the collegiate level. And I actually really didn't want to shoot small bore, because I like standing, and I didn't like slings, and I told my coach at one point, I was like, I'm not shooting small bore. But then she forced me to shoot small bore, and now I shoot both. So.
And when you shoot, you have the suit. So talk about the equipment, because I know that weighs you down. Talk about the equipment and what everything means when you're shooting.
There is so much equipment. It's crazy. Flying is horrible because we rarely ever have our bags under 50 pounds.
Yeah.
So the suits are made of canvas leather. and there's a bunch of different brands. I wear Sour, and they basically are custom fit. So we do measurements. You measure pretty much every part of your body, and they make the suit exactly to fit you. And then if you need any alterations, they'll alter it. And the point of it is kind of just to give us more stability, because our 10 is very, very tiny.
Yeah.
So we need all the help we can get to actually hit it every time.
So you also have special shoes.
Yes.
You have the visor.
Yes.
So talk about what the visor and why the special shoes.
So the boots are like ankle length, and they're flat soled. So we use those because we want to keep our ankles very stable, because, I mean, we're standing anywhere from like 40 to 75 minutes. Basically, we're just standing upright. And when you're standing for that long, not moving, it can be really hard on your ankles. So we like to give it that extra support. In pistol, they actually use the same boot, but they're not allowed to have the ankle. So it's actually pretty interesting to see them walking around with like half a boot. And then the visor does two things. So one, it keeps our blinder on. Mm-hmm. So we shoot with both eyes open, which a lot of people don't know. I know most people shoot their guns and they are used to closing one eye.
Right.
So we actually leave both open, and we just put like a clear visor over it. A lot of people use milk cartons. They just cut a piece out of a milk carton and stick it in there. And then it also cuts the light out. So we use a lot of overhead lights, and when you're looking through a very tiny target at a black and white something, it just throws it off. So
right.
We use the visor to protect our eyes.
Oh, that's amazing. There's a lot that goes into it for sure.
Yeah.
So let's talk about this medal. You said you started shooting around 2017. Mm-hmm. You were in the 2020 Olympics. I mean, for somebody who just started to go from starting year 1 to year 3 being in Olympics, how did all of this come about?
It was a very long process. I mean, it doesn't seem like it because it was only 3 years, but I practice a lot. So even in high school, I was training like 5 or 6 hours a day, and I still do that 6 days a week, 5 or 6 hours a day. So it was a lot of time put into it, and then very lucky to find my coach is a 2-time Olympian, and she kind of knew all the right ways to do everything. So she was like, these are the competitions you need to go to. This is the things we need to do. And then one of the biggest things was just go to everything. Yeah. So it's like, even if, you have to self-fund or you have to miss school, like, go to everything, because then I get those opportunities. And in shooting, we have like a ranking system. And for international stuff, sometimes people are like, no, I don't want to go there. So eventually it'll drop down. And I was always like, yes, yeah. I'm going to go. Like, I'm not that good, but I went to every World Cup that I could. Yeah. My first World Cup was actually like my 3rd match. And it was in Georgia. So I was like, it's a World Cup, but it's in the U.S., so it wasn't that much stress. But I did go through a period where I was not shooting very good. After my first overseas match, so my first overseas was in Germany and Austria, and I did end up placing, I got medals at both of those, and I broke the junior world record.
Nice.
I only held it for like a couple days because somebody broke it like a couple
but
days
you
later.
Had it.
But
you had it.
I was like, you know what, it's fine.
Right.
But then when I came back, I kind of hit a really rough patch, and I wasn't doing very good up until Olympic trials. And then it was like right when I got back into school, my first World Cup when I was in college, I did very well at. So I was like, all right, like, we're back on track here. COVID obviously happened, and honestly, I think COVID helped me a little bit, especially in small bore, because I shot air gun for a whole year before I shot small bore. So I didn't start small bore till 2018. And I ended up making the Olympic team in small bore, but I definitely don't think I would have if it weren't for COVID, because I did put so many hours in during that time of literally nothing happening. Yeah.
So you go to Tokyo. Is there pressure? I mean, I think I read something, because I know you won a national championship with your previous school, Kentucky, and I think I read something where you said it's more nerve-wracking shooting collegiate than it was Olympics, because collegiate, it's more of a team. Your teammates are relying on you. So talk about, did you feel any pressure, or were you just like, this is awesome, just gonna have fun with it?
Yeah, I honestly didn't feel that much pressure for the games. It's kind of interesting. I know a lot of other top athletes have spoken about it, but the Olympics is more of like a media thing. It's not really the highest thing for us. So World Championships, World Cups, even Grand Prix, way harder.
Really?
Way harder, because the Olympics, there's only about 40 people
Yeah.
competing, because, you know, you have to win a quota, you have to be selected. There's only 2 athletes per country, if the country even gets both their quotas. So it's like sometimes the best athletes aren't really even there. So, yeah, Worlds is definitely a lot harder because there's like 200 people in the same event.
Yeah.
So it's crazy. But going into it, I mean, I was just looking to have good matches. Obviously, I wanted all the medals. I competed in 3 events. And my first match was a little bit scary because I actually had a gun malfunction.
Oh, wow.
So my gun wasn't working up until like a couple minutes before the match.
Oh, my gosh.
And they were like, here you go. And I was like, I have no idea if this is going to work.
Right.
But we're going to go for it. And I went in, it was shooting fine. I was like, you know what? I'm just going to do what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And I came off, and I shot a pretty good score. I shot a national record at that point, and I was like, all right, you know, like, I'm happy with this. I made the final, and then that final for that first event was wild. People were shooting so good.
Yeah.
And, like, I was actually shooting really good, and I went out in 5th. And I was like, I am not mad about that because these people are ridiculous.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, I didn't feel any pressure. I was more of just, like, wanting to do what I was doing.
Yeah.
And it was a really, really cool experience.
What was it like standing on the podium? Now, we were just talking about everything before we got on camera here, but forgot that was the COVID Olympics, so they couldn't put it over your head. I mean, just a little different, but how cool was it for you to stand on that podium, to see the American flag, and to know that, you know, you got silver for yourself and for your country?
Yeah, I think immediately after getting it, did not set in.
Yeah.
Didn't set in at all. I mean, we pretty much won it, and then it was like a very quick, like, okay, you have to really quickly put your stuff away. You have to make sure everything is fine. You got to, like, run it all the way over to the armory. But then you have to come back and go through this, like, media maze. And everyone's asking questions. And then we had all that. We had to change clothes, like, 3 times. Because we had, like, the U.S. has, like, regular outfit, podium outfit, media outfit. So we're, like, running through everything. I'm like, I don't know what's going on. I didn't even know I had a medal half the time. But when it actually set in was when I got back to the village. So I was rooming with beach volleyball, and it was actually interesting because most of the shooters were together, but I was with them. And I actually got locked out the night that I came back of my apartment. So I, like, called my roommate, and I was like, can you let me in? And she was like, what are you doing? It's like 12 at night. It was like midnight because we had gone to NBC and everything. And I was like, yeah, I was doing media because I medaled. And then when I said, like, I medaled, I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
And I literally looked at her, and I think I said, this is real. And she was like, yeah. And I was like, huh, interesting.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What's it been like, you know, coming to a new school, and I know you chose WVU. What was it about WVU that you said, yeah, this is where I want to finish my career?
It was definitely the team and the coaches.
Yeah.
I mean, my last school, Kentucky, was great support-wise, and I really loved the school, but there was a lot of problems on the team, and not the greatest of coaching sometimes. So I was really looking for a difference. So I kind of was less looking at the school. I didn't even really, like, I didn't go to campus or anything. When I came here, I was like, no, I need to spend time with the team, and I need to spend time with the coach. And John and I, like, clicked instantly. We were very close, could talk about anything. It was great. And then I have known this team for a really long time, obviously, because I've been competing against them. But then they were so welcoming, which I wasn't really expecting, because it's like, you know, there was a big rivalry between these 2 schools. And I was like, oh, no, are these people going to hate me? But I came in, and they were just like, oh, we're best friends now. And I was like, wow, this is nice.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. Talk about just NIL. So now you're in it. Here it is. You're an athlete. You know, what has the NIL meant to you, and maybe particularly Country Roads Trust?
Yeah, NIL has been a huge, huge lifesaver, I think. So it was actually a little bit different, I think, for me than for a lot of people, because NIL went into play the week before the Tokyo Games. So I was in Tokyo, and people were like, oh, NIL happened. and I had deleted social media, so I didn't really know what was going on. And all of a sudden, like a week before, people were like calling and they're like, we want to do this and we want to do this. And I was like, not right now.
Right.
Not right now. So I think, I mean, a lot of people probably were kind of like, dang it, because they wanted the games to be a thing. But coming back, it was just like, wow, I have so many opportunities now. And it's really nice, especially in small sports, because I can actually get support now. So, like, I can receive my Olympic stipend. I can receive, like, payments from other things. I know Country Roads has been huge helpful to me. But, like, I can actually receive that. And in bigger sports, it's not as big of a deal because they actually make money. But, like, we don't really make very much money.
Right.
So it's kind of like I need to keep myself afloat, especially being in school, like having to pay for school, having to live up here on my own, pay for apartments and everything. So it's super nice to be able to do that. It also creates a really nice community because a lot of us, like, it's not just one athlete that gets picked, it's a bunch of athletes, so then we know each other, like, oh, hey, you're also in the Country Roads, let's talk about this.
Yeah.
So it's like we all get to know each other and all get to help each other out.
Well, we appreciate that you are with Country Roads Trust, and congratulations on the medal. I mean,
Thanks.
and it's really heavy. Everybody talks about it. It is really heavy. So, Mary, thank you so much, and good luck with everything.
Thank you.
Thanks.